Kim Corla. I want to begin by expressing my great gratitude, I suppose, to be able to sit in this seat and appreciate your appointment to Minister for Children, Taoiseach, and of course expressing gratitude to my constituents from Dublin Southwest who elected me what seems like a long time ago now, but I suppose it's just a few short months. I also want to express my gratitude to all of the speakers, my colleagues, parliamentarians. I've listened carefully to what you have said, taken notes, and appreciate your comments. I suppose that in relation to my own remarks, I want to begin with some optimism and hope for the Irish people. I think I have an ethical obligation to do so as the new Minister for Children and Youth Affairs, so that we can, in the words of our Sinn Féin colleague, Deputy Kenny, allow our children to raise our grandchildren, or so that we can find, in the words of Deputy Martin, a new direction for the way of conducting our country's business, or so that all of our children can grow up in a country that supports their, in the words of our Taoiseach, psychological and emotional well-being, as he has pledged. And so I think one of our collective tasks is indeed to end child poverty. And several of my colleagues you've identified that and spoken about that as a critical task for us all to engage in. And if the program for government in its current form doesn't have enough on that, only the seeds of it perhaps indeed, well, what I would ask of you is to work with me and other colleagues, to work with us to do that once and for all. I know a little bit about attempting to end child poverty. It comes from the ideology that I carry, which, for want of a better word, I use the word progressive too. Some of the people who have informed that thinking, maybe political theorists like Jürgen Habermas, or radical educators like Paulo Freire, as well as the practice of my work as a community educator in Jobstown, West Tala, the wider Tala area, where with my spouse, who is still with us here, Anne Louise, set up one of the first creches in Jobstown Community Centre 30 years ago, as we invited 12 women from the Jobstown community to come to our home, which is where we started our educational project, to take the brave step to get back onto the learning path, so that eventually they would become either leaders in their own communities or get jobs, and if the jobs weren't good for themselves, eventually they'd get their children would get good jobs because their children were well educated. This is a little bit of the practice and the experience that I pledge to bring to bear on the leadership of my new ministry. But it's just one of the many collective tasks that we must engage in, so that we, in 2016, can garner all of our efforts, our imagination, and our skillful use of our resources to cherish all of our children equally. That we can provide every child with an equal start in life, which is what I called a set of policies I developed when I was a senator, identifying the care and the education, the parental support, the preventative and early intervention supports that should be delivered in one place for the child and his or her parents. So I begin with that hope and an identification of a couple of key collective tasks. But how is it that we will be effective in the delivery of these and other collective tasks? Several colleagues have referred to the very difficult birth of this minority-led government. I agree, it's not perfect. It was way too slow, especially as many of you have identified, as was exemplified this morning. So, yes, it is true that we must get better at this. Yes, it is true that more trust needs to be built. And it is equally true that constructive opposition, radical left opposition, Sinn Féin opposition, Labour opposition, Green and Social Democratic opposition, that all of this opposition is required to stop us when we are not doing what is required to cherish all of our children equally, or to transform opposition to creative proposals that all of us would welcome for our people. How is it that we will be effective? Each one of us has to ask that question for ourselves, and I'm sure you have. So have I. How will we use our power? I define power as the ability to get things done. How will we use our power? In opposition. I respect your choice for that. Party or non-party. Or party or non-party or independent in government. Clearly, I have made my choice. And I have discerned that after much reflection, that I will attempt to get things done over here rather than over there. And that I have brought my progressive approach, my practice and experience with the people of Tallaght, with my practice and experience as a feminist, as an educator, as the former chief executive of the National Women's Council, as a human rights advocate, as a marriage equality leader. So yes, I know what people power is like. I know what it means to mobilize the people to get things done and to bring about effective change. And I know how long it takes to do that. And some of that was brought into this program for government that's constructed. It's not perfect, it's not complete, and it is simply a guide for the action plans, the strategies, and the budgets that we will and we must create together.
Thank you very much, Deputy Sapone.